Oh, okay. It says I'm live. Welcome to another Thursday Night Live, everyone. Sorry, I'm trying to remember something here. So maybe turn off my audio. There we go. Echo. Rookie mistake. So how's everybody doing? Man, Alan, what is the name of this? Why can't I find it? Oh, here it is. Okay. I was trying to find this on my Kindle Unlimited. I don't know if you can actually. That's a little bit better. The Withering Hours by Morgan Sylvia. Dark folk horror. And Alan, I know I've seen the name Morgan Sylvia around, excuse me, but Alan really introduced this book to me. And we're going to be speaking with her this Sunday. So, and Emma Gibbon will be with us. So, that should be a lot of fun. That should be great. Um, let's see here. Pretty sure I'm live on both Facebook feeds, but Alan, would you mind checking for me? I That'd be great. That'd be awesome, dude. Um, yeah. Okay. I just messed that up. Okay. No, there we go. All right. Welcome. If you're new to this, if you're watching me on Facebook and you're like, what the hell is Mike doing? Um, well, I do this every Thursday night. I've been doing it for a while on YouTube. This is Thursday Night Live, episode 54. And the idea was just sort of like, late night talk radio. And it's usually just me, but the people have spoken. And I've had Jeff Thomas on once, and Alan Hughes. I think it's those two guys so far. But anyway, probably one time a month, we're gonna have somebody else on with me. Okay, thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. I say the picture looks a hell of a lot better than it did before I started using Restream. This is great. And it's free. Can't beat that. So, no, it's not free. I think I'm paying. I don't know. Anyway, hello everyone. Suzanne, Kim, Alan, Stephen, Mark, and Marianne. Hey, I was just thinking about you because I was looking at this earlier today. Excuse me. And I'm gonna take another picture of it, post it on the big Lovecraft Museum. Got a little cat fur on it. Facebook page. So yeah, Marianne sent me. She didn't just send it to me. She created this a while back. The book house, and a cute little not evil Cthulhu there. He's just he's tiny evil, maybe. There we go. He's tiny evil. Yeah. I like that. Let's just go with tiny evil. Yeah, need to dust the Monty fur off that, Marianne, and then take another picture. But you don't mind cat fur, I'm sure. Monty is our only long-haired cat. So Danielle's pretty wiped out at her. She loves her new school, Alan, Suzanne, but it is a new school. There's a lot it's a big change. And also at the beginning of every school year, she's more tired than usual the first few weeks. Um, yeah, the cat hair does add love. Exactly. So, uh, so she's probably going to bed right now. It's 9:05 here. The So she's like, so you have a podcast tonight, and she's still getting used to which nights are which because I've been doing Sundays forever, so she's gotten used to that. Alan, Danielle caught it too. she's got a terrible cold. So every year she gets this from her kids, little brats. No, I'm just kidding. She loves those guys, and they're already loving her. I didn't know I was gonna say this. Hopefully she's not watching, but the she wears on purpose. She wears every day different colored fun socks. Um, and she waits for the kids to notice every year, and then she acts dumb about it. What I got on I got on two separate socks. How did that happen? And then she'll do it again the next day, and then finally they catch on. So she's a very fun teacher. But she's not the fun teacher that doesn't get the job done. She's very much about that too. Little fact, Alan, Suzanne, uh, is this everywhere or just Texas? Texas finally passed a law I agree with that kids couldn't have cell phones in class. Not a problem for Danielle because she's never allowed them to have cell phones in class. So I don't know how we got on. I like talking about my wife. She's awesome. All right, so what did I write down that I want to talk about? Talk about? Yeah, hey, I uh I saw this podcast today. I don't remember where, but this is only going to be of interest to you comic book nerds out there. So probably just me and Alan. But if you are a DC Comics nerd and you're a guy, you're a man, part of growing up is that you stop wanting to be Clark and you want to be Jonathan Kent. And I thought that was so neat and so cool because I've had that same thought for quite a while, you know. Um, that's brought to you apropos of nothing. So, um, oh, I know how I got on to Danielle because she goes, "So what? You have a podcast tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, at 9." And she's like, "So which one is this one?" And I'm like, "I don't actually know. This is the one where I get on and talk, and for some reason, people listen to me." So, and she said it's because I'm awesome, but she's biased. So, but she is awesome, and that's true. Anyway, what I was going to say about that is I'm amazed at you guys who stay up late on a Thursday night to watch me live for a little while, even though you've got to be up early in the morning. So, um, that's very cool. Thank you guys for that. Speaking of Superman 2025, the new movie, I, I let me say this. I did have some pretty big doubts about this movie, but I have to admit that James Gunn, and I was never one of those that, it's gonna suck and I want it to suck because I like, Man of Steel and all that. And no, I'm not like that. There can be different versions of the character. You don't have to pick one. You can like one of them or three of them or none of them or all of them. But I gotta say, James Gunn hit it out of the park, and um, I've seen it once. I'm rewatching it now, and started to rewatch it because of that scene where Clark is really dejected. I'm not going to give anything away, but he's dejected for a reason that the movie gets into, and he says to his dad, Jonathan Kent, I don't know who I am anymore. And his dad says, your choices, Clark, your actions. That's what makes you who you are. I'll tell you something, son, I couldn't be more proud of you. And, just about all of the movie is pretty great and can be appreciated by people who, you don't have to be a comic book fan. It's a fun movie. You may not be like me and Alan and watch it 5 times, but hey, Frank. But more than anything else in the movie, that scene really, really made it for me. It just clicked right there. And then the more I started thinking about the movie later, the more I liked it and knew I was going to enjoy a second watch of it. So, those of you who are parents, um, you understand what I'm talking about. And if you're not a parent and you sort of understand, but you can never quite understand if you're not a parent. That's no, that I don't say that in a negative way. It's just it's impossible to understand before you're a parent. It just really is. And I didn't either. I thought I did, but I didn't. So I was 31 when Logan was born, which is older than a lot, not as old as some. And I think that helped quite a bit. In addition to Danielle's example, she really showed me what family really means. You know, family is there for you, and no matter what. And if they don't act that way, they're not family, they're just blood. But I really learned that from her. And I do think what added to me being a better dad was that, I wasn't 22 when Logan was born, or, I wasn't a kid. Well, 31's still a kid, as old as I am now, but you know what I mean. I wasn't a 21-year-old. I wasn't a 24-year-old. Um, and we got 6 or 7 years together, just us. And that was important too. Thanks, Kim. You're right. Danielle's awesomeness is never in question. I sent her flowers today. So she was, uh, she said they called her to come down to the office, and this was the receptionist, I guess. I haven't met anyone there yet. And she goes, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to ask it. Am I in trouble?" And the lady says something like, um, "No, darling, you are not in trouble at all. Everything's okay, honey." So I thought that was funny. So anyway, yeah. Uh, I also I'm looking for. Thank you, Alan. I hope you do too, and you, Suzanne. Um, I don't understand the phone thing even being an issue, though. Really, how can a kid learn if he's on his phone texting or whatever kids do on their phone? I don't know. Uh, yeah, you can't multitask studying. So anyway, it's a good step. Uh, there's been another recent decision that I strongly disagree with, but I won't get into it. But I do agree with the phone thing. I was thinking a lot about those of you who have read the Matthew Scudder series, detective series by Lawrence Block, excuse me. Can you say so in the chat if you read some of them or all of them? Kim, I was born in Texas and it's disappointed me too. So I'm so disappointed with you people. You need to grow up. Uh, what was I saying? Oh, Matthew Scudder. It's not horror. That's not why I bring it up for those who don't know, but it's very noir. And when we meet Matthew Scudder in the 70s, he's a hard drinker. He is no longer a cop because he chased these two robbers out of a bar once, and they had also killed the bar owner. And he killed one, wounded the other one, he's paralyzed him for life. But one of the bullets took a bad hop, and he did nothing wrong. He was exonerated, but it just took a really weird hop in the story and killed a 6-year-old girl. And this is just something he really can't handle, as most of us would probably not be able to handle. And that is, the series starts with this already having happened, so I'm not really spoiling anything. If you do read it, you should read it in order, in story order, but if you only want to check out one book, then I forgot to turn off the machine over there. Sorry if it makes a little bit of noise. If you're only going to read one of them, read When the Sacred Gin Mill Closes. But there is some cross section, for lack of a better word, between noir and weird fiction. And I know I'm not the only one to think so. Uh, Not that Matthew Scudder is alone in this, but there are a lot of reflections on mortality and so forth. And what gives a day meaning, what gives a life meaning. Thinking of one quote where he says that he wants to follow up. He becomes a private detective unofficially, so probably no surprise there since I said it was the detective series. But he was going to follow up on something, and then he thinks, it's I'm going to do it. It's probably a waste of time, but everything is a waste of time one way or another. Uh, yeah, if you're depressed, it's easy to see things that way, and in a way, you're right. We're all just, in the words of from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, we're all basically skipping rocks across the pond, trying to pass the time, right? But some wasted time, wasted time has more meaning and is more meaningful than others, especially that time that you spend which helps other people. A good teacher is an example. Or the smallest act of kindness, in the words of a TV show that I like, it is certainly a really great way to waste your time. Um, but I can't find the passage. I've got them all on Kindle as well, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a search because I've been thinking of this passage for months and haven't found it. I did some Googling, but Google let me down. I did say if you're only going to read one, read When the Sacred Gin Mill Closes, right? You guys, um, uh, update on Laird? Good question. Thank you for asking. He emailed me as soon as he got home, well, the next day, and um, wanted to let me know he was back home, so I didn't worry, and more to come. Uh, but I didn't expect a second email because he told all his patrons, gave them all some details that even I didn't know. Um, and his eyesight is a real problem, and so is his hearing. And so I miss being able to talk on the phone with him. Um, the only way we can communicate right now is through email, or I can text Jess and she can holler at him what I'm saying, but basically email. And I try not to overdo that either. At least I do send him emails to distract him. And, I sent him an email about the Superman movie and my thoughts on it and so forth. But I tell him every time, hey, buddy, you don't have, I don't want my emails to stress you out. You don't have to reply right away or at all, which wasn't that way before a few months ago. But he is home, Stephen, to answer your question. I think all of his fans know that by now. And I thought I'd give him and Jess a couple days and let them uh, settle in and then check in. So I'll probably do that tomorrow or the next day. I guess the best way to put this, Stephen and everyone, is he's not at death's door, but it's pretty fucking serious. You know, we've talked before quite a lot about our separate health issues. And he's like, it's all really one issue. It's just one issue, right? And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I see what you mean. This starts this exasperates that. And same thing with Laird. I don't think it's a secret that he didn't really have access to health care growing up. And, not he didn't I want to be careful with what I say, but I'm pretty damn sure this is public knowledge. Uh, he didn't always eat the best growing up through no fault of his own, and uh, wasn't getting the nutrition sometimes that he needed is the short version. And that takes a toll on a human being, in their later years as well. So, um, and then you throw in the fact of healthcare in America is not cheap. And a person shouldn't be in a lot of pain and have a lot of health issues and sit there at home wondering if they should go to the ER or the doctor or not. They shouldn't have to weigh that financially. And a couple of years ago when he was in the hospital and he was at death's door, and I went up to hang out with him in the hospital in New York for a few days. He had just put it off too long. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, Kim. And maybe for some this is a political thing to say, but I just think everyone deserves health care. No matter who they are, no matter if, there's someone living on the streets or if they're a billionaire, everyone deserves health care. And we're the only first world country where people have to pay for it. And I don't think a lot of Americans really realize the stress that people in Canada, for example, do not ever have or even think about. So that was on his mind too. And the GoFundMe that I arranged for him and that John and I arranged for him 2 years ago really, really helped him financially and emotionally. So so that's where he is. Um, I'm his friend, but he's back in a position where he can keep the keep his fans and the public um, apprised of where he's at with everything. So the best thing you can do, I'm going to check in with him as a friend, but the best thing you guys can do as fans is join his Patreon. And you don't even have to join the free, excuse me, you don't even have to enjoy the paid Patreon if you can't or don't want to, although I think you should. He deserves it. Uh, I think his post the other day Maybe you could check this for me, Alan, if you want to, if you're in front of your computer. But I think that was a free post. So Patreon's kind of taken the place of his social media, which we talked about when I helped him set it up, and it's really worked out well for him. Um, and he's got a lot more patrons than I do, but he's a lot more popular than I am too. And he's just, he's a really great person. He's a talented writer, but he's also just a really great guy and a really kind guy. It was a post for all members, so free included. Thank you, Alan. That's what I mean. If you want to stay in the loop on Laird, you can get it straight from him on his Patreon. So just Google Patreon and Laird Barron if if you haven't already done that. So thank you for asking. I'll tell him that you asked, and I'm sure that'll make him smile. Let's see what 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 else here. Kim says I have exactly one. Oh, well, nowhere to go but up, right? Kim deserves more patrons too. She's a great person, and she's my patron, so everyone should be there. Her Patreon too. And you should link to your Amazon page, Kim, in here in the side chat. Okay. What else was I going to talk about? What else? What else? Oh, that makes me think if you guys have requests for topics that you would like me to talk about on Thursday nights, please be sure to email me. Let's see, I think I put the email right near the top. Yeah, I did, and it's in the first paragraph of the show notes. Or if you're watching on Facebook, it may not be, but I link to my links page on those. michaeldyllandavis.com is my links page, and it has my email address on that. So feel free to email me with suggestions, guys. Uh, okay, now the Monty report. You have not seen Monty tonight because he is actually in the house because Jupiter wanted to be in here tonight. Jupiter is somewhere here sacked out, and he's not as high energy as Monty. So the reason why is I love Monty, but he's the kindest way I can put this is that he always wants to bug Jupiter, whether Jupiter wants to be bugged or not. So, so yeah. Um, yeah. Click on Kim's Amazon link, you guys, either now or later. Thank you for you guys being so kind to me last Thursday night. A couple of people, several, well, more than several people emailed me back or commented when I said that I was just really having a bad day with depression and I couldn't do last Thursday night's show. And I did that not to get sympathy, but because I feel that people who battle depression, especially deep depression, it helps to know that you're not the only one. And maybe intellectually we know, of course, I'm not the only one on planet Earth that battles it. But when you know that someone a friend or a colleague battles it too, it doesn't fix anything, but it does help a bit. At least it helps me. You know, when I talk to a friend or or someone that I admire, and they've occasionally said talked about their depression, I get this little bit of, hey, she's going through it too. He's going through it too. I'm not alone. And so thank you for your kind words and comments. Somebody emailed me back. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but well, I wouldn't want to quote them without permission anyway. But he emailed me back a nice note, and he said he reminded me that Winston Churchill suffered from depression, and he called it the black dog. So, uh, yeah. And Abraham Lincoln did as well. You guys may know. And what is that quote? Um, he said something like, I didn't know I was going to talk about this. I am now the most miserable man living. If all of my something, I'm paraphrasing. You know what? I don't want to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. Okay, here it is. I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face upon the earth. Whether I shall ever be better, I cannot tell. I awfully forebode I shall not. To remain as I am is impossible. I must die or be better, it appears to me. I guess, which is another way of saying, and I don't remember who said this, that I can't go on, I'll go on. You know, they said it a lot better than that, just so you know. And I, I don't want anybody to feel obligated to raise your hand if you deal with it, but if you do, just, yeah. Yeah, Kim, this too shall pass. And, you know, it does. I feel a lot better tonight than I did last Thursday night. But I gained a lot of peace when I realized that I wasn't going to get to the point where I beat depression and it was over for the rest of my life. Um, because there's a trap where you think, I still deal with depression. Why the hell haven't I figured this out yet, gotten over this yet? I'm 25, I'm 35, I'm 57, whatever age. And geez, I should have figured this out by now. Uh, it sounds like a melancholy thing to say that if you have deep depression, you may never get past it totally. But there's some peace with it too, where you know that, look, as Kim just said, um, when you do go through those bouts of depression, that this too shall pass, as Kim said. Um, yeah, and Stephen, I do have friends. I have a friend who suffered from it a lot, who still does sometimes, but you know, I'm a little jealous. 90% of the time, he's okay. And he sent me a little, his take on beating depression without meds one time, and he said some really good things in there. Um, but I don't, there's no silver bullet with depression. And without getting on a soapbox, you have to approach it from several ways. You do need to be on medication, most likely. Um, you do need mental tools to deal with depression. Like this too shall pass. That's a mental tool, right? Um, you know, when I first turned 18, I was on my own. I was terribly depressed, as you guys can no doubt imagine. But in my mind, I had grown up reading, going to the library several times a week, reading tons of books. And I just had it in my little mind, well, 18, but in my mind that I didn't know the answer, but the answer had to be out there in a book somewhere. And so I just devoured book after book and on the subject or near the subject. And some books were crap, some books were fantastic. Some books had one nugget of gold in them, and some had more. But over time, I built up these mental tools. So that's approach. I mean, that's uh, you got to fight depression on that front too. And then there are other ways, but the three main ones with me are medication, mental tools, and the third one is exercise. And I don't mean running marathons or anything, but even a simple walk on a regular basis, you know. Um, Speaking of walks, what my friend had to say about that helping with depression was that, much like storytelling or sitting around the fire at night, the human race grew up walking. They walked. And his point with walking was that it helps, but it helps even more if you walk with a purpose. Even if you're just walking to the store a mile away to pick up a loaf of bread that you need. If you have a goal, something that you accomplish, it helps even more. So thought I'd pass that on. Looking at your comments. Yeah, yeah, I get it, Alan. Um, I do when it comes to kids. Steven said reading was a major way that I coped with it. Absolutely. It's great to disappear into a different world. I often I look at my library here. So I look at that shelf over there, and there's dozens and dozens of books, right? And I think inside of each of those books is another world, another universe. And when I read fiction, reading sometimes sounds to me more passive than it really is because you're not mentally passive. But when I'm reading fiction, I think of myself as exploring. I'm exploring all these alternate worlds, all these alternate universes. And yes, you're absolutely right, Stephen. Reading helps a lot. Yes, that's a good point. Cats can help, dogs can help. You know, our animals can be our emotional support animals, even if it's not official, right? Um, Taking care of an animal, them looking up to you for their needs and just petting them. Um, Marianne says, started with a new therapist. Oh, yeah, that's actually the fourth thing. Thank you, Marianne. I knew I was forgetting something. Therapy can be very important too. Okay, just got to make sure you're, much like the depression medication, you have to make sure that you have the right therapist, and you might have to go through one or two. Started a new therapist this week, and insurance approved the power wheelchair. Oh, man, that's great. Awesome. Congratulations. Kim says purring is healing. That's so true. One of the four kittens, Kim, uh, Danielle named him Peekaboo. When I walk up to him now, he immediately Jupiter does this too, and immediately look at me and then I'll go plop, almost just fall over on his side so that I can rub his belly. It is just, it's just too cute for words, man. I'll wrap up here in a couple minutes because I know that you guys have to get up in the morning, more than likely. Some of the stuff I had no idea that I was going to talk about. I did write down this, that I ask this question a lot when I'm interviewing people. And I ask them, what does success mean to you personally? Uh, Meaning success in your personal life, success in your career, or success in your goals. If you're a writer, what happens to make you feel successful as a writer? DeBronzo and I had this great conversation with Victor Laval, um, another in the Deep Background series that I'll have up next week on the Patreon. And it's fantastic. It might be the best deep background yet. But he talks about when his first book was published, you know, things didn't really meet his expectations or what he thought was going to happen. And he talks about that. What does success mean to him? And, we make these rules for ourselves, and sometimes we don't even realize we're making them. I will be happy if this thing that never comes, I will be happy, you know. And he obviously says it much better than I am right now, but he says his second book, to keep it short and simple, uh, his first book, there was, I guess, more attention than the second book. But with the second book, he had matured and learned these things, and he felt more successful with it. He talks about a friend of his that's never been published, but is a fantastic writer and writes every single day without fail. And he said, to me, that guy's a success, you know? Um, Whatever his rule may be, that is, you get up every day and you write. Um, if that is your goal, then you should feel successful. Um, and obviously there are different levels of success. Um, Someone hands me $1 million. No, I'll take that back. I don't think I'd feel any more successful if somebody handed me $1 million. Maybe if I earned $1 million, like suddenly the YouTube channel and the easing went from, a really loyal cult following to millions of YouTube video views a month with the monetary gain that brings. Um, then I'd think, oh yeah, you accomplished that, Mike. But really, as long as I can pay the bills and have some left over for my family and to buy a book, um, I feel pretty successful. And I feel successful if I continue to slowly build up the easing, the Patreon, and the podcast. Um, Kim says, if someone believed in me enough to hand me $1 million, I'd feel pretty damn spiffy. Me too. Absolutely. And that's the thing too. Your rule for success doesn't need to be my rule. It's just sit down and ask yourself what makes it what is going to do that for you. Hey Jakester, welcome. So I like to ask people I interview, especially in the Deep Background series, and as you might expect, Victor Laval's answer was very insightful. And so those of you who are patrons, look forward to that next week because that's a great one. So if you haven't listened to the Reggie Oliver one that Chaz and I did, I put it on the podcast 2 or 3 days ago. Not on the podcast, on the Patreon 2 or 3 days ago, and it's pretty great. What an interesting guy. I mean, really, what an interesting guy. So I think I'm going to wrap up here in a minute. Um, I don't see my astronomy guy here tonight. Um, I did have some cool astronomy things to talk about, but I'll talk about those next week. So, oh, I was looking a little bit at Nietzsche's eternal recurrence, um, a thought experiment that asks you to imagine living your life over and over again, every detail, joy, pain, screw up, repeating exactly the same way every time. And how would you react? What would you think about that? Um, would you embrace that, or would the idea fill you with dread? Well, I have to agree to a point, Kim, because you get in your 50s, hopefully, some people don't, and you think, if you've paid attention, if you've tried to learn, gather the mental tools, wow, I've figured out a lot of life. I mean, hopefully when I'm 60, I'll figure it out more. But, don't you wish you could have had that wisdom when you were 22, you know? But unfortunately, there's no substitute for experience. So my point is, would I want to live if I had to live my life over again? It's like, yeah, if I started like in my 40s or 50s when I didn't screw up so much, then that would be okay because I love my wife, love my son. There's a lot of joy there, obviously, most of my joy. But to relive all those mistakes I made when I was a kid, when I was a teenager in my 20s, oh my God, I don't think so. I don't think so. And yeah. Yeah, I read this science fiction time travel short story once, um, Marianne, and basically the guy gets himself trapped in a time loop, and they're definitely not uh, what is it called? The alternate worlds time travel. It's basically if it happened, it happened. So the guy gets essentially trapped in his own mind, where he says the same things on the phone, he does the same things, but he has no control, and he's conscious of it. And I thought that was so freaking horrifying. Man. Yeah. All right, guys. Sunday is going to be a lot of fun, enjoyable. Um, and hope to see you guys there. And I don't know. Thanks so much for listening to me and spending part of your Thursday night with me. Um, I think all of you are patrons, so I don't think you'd necessarily care if I go to Patreon only with the Tuesday and Thursday night shows, but I am still thinking about it. Um, we'll see. Your input is valuable. You can email me if you want, whatever you want to do. And Alan, thank you for setting up the interview with Morgan Sylvia for this Sunday. Really appreciate it. I'm going to have your picture in the YouTube thumbnail. Least I could do. And like I said, Morgan Sylvia and Emma Gibbon will be with us as well. So Hey, thanks for listening to me, guys. Go, go put something, go put a horror story on your Audible or on YouTube and listen to that while you go to sleep. I always think of that. I'm exploring, even though I'm going to sleep, I'm exploring those fictional worlds. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. And those of you who are patrons, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Good night.